today about some late-breaking animal-centric news. I don't do videos like this often, but I like to do them, and I hope you like to do them too, because if you like this style of video, this kind of me talking to you about an animal news story and then giving my opinion, my feelings about the subject matter, then definitely let me know in the comments and I'll make more. If you don't like it, I'll probably still make them, but so you guys know that I love animals, like most of you do, because that's why you watch my channel. What you may not know is that one of my first animal loves was sharks. I love sharks. I love fish in general. Like, I don't like to eat them. I don't eat them. But I love learning about them and observing them, and I just think they're the coolest things in the world. And sharks are definitely at the top of my fish list. For me, this love affair with sharks actually started when I was a really young kid. So I grew up not that far outside of Boston. We're only about an hour's drive outside of Boston. And I grew up going to the New England Aquarium. So the Boston Aquarium, the New England Aquarium, it's a world-class facility. And even now, as someone that doesn't visit zoos, I still go to the Boston Aquarium, and I think that's a discussion for another day, but it's a really great facility. And when I was a kid, they had nurse sharks, they had reef sharks, they had sand sharks, and that really piqued my interest. And on top of that, I had the great luxury of having family that would, you know, not summer on the Cape, but we'd get a cottage for a week or two every summer, and we'd go out to Martha's Vineyard or out to Cape Cod, and it'd be so cool running around on the beach looking for shark eggs. And then we'd go out deep sea fishing and, you know, going for striper or going for whatever we were going for, and actually reel in sand sharks as well. I have this incredibly vivid memory, and it's like one of those things that I can put myself in that seat, in that situation right now. And I was probably about 10 or 11 years old when it happened, and we were just reeling up sand shark, sand shark, sand shark, and the deck crew was getting frustrated by this, and so they just started pulling them up, and they had a club, and they were just beating the sand sharks, killing them, taking the hook out, and throwing the shark over the overboard back into the sea. And I, even as like a really young kid, I was maybe more compassionate towards animals than some other kids. And my dad had explained to me, you know, will we kill animals because we eat them? Again, another discussion for another time. My views about that have changed now. But this went against that. This was just killing to kill them. We weren't going to eat them. We weren't going to fillet them and cook them that night like we were with the other fish that we were catching. And I got really upset because nobody could explain to me why these fish were different than those fish. Other than, oh, you can't eat them, they're nasty, they steal our bait. I had a bit of a meltdown for a kid, you know, as you do, and I went inside the boathouse and I cried the rest of the way back. And I remember my dad trying to explain it as best he could, but I think he was at a loss. I don't think he could justify that himself. So that was one of the turning points, I think, in my life, and it just solidified my love for these incredible apex predators. Because of this incredible admiration and love for sharks, that's why the news that came in yesterday was really devastating for me. As it is for anybody. It's terrible, it's a tragedy, a life was lost. But yes, yesterday on Cape Cod, a 26-year-old young man was bitten by a great white shark and died. I can't sympathize or send my condolences deeply enough to this young man's friends, his family, anybody that loved him, to be so incredibly young, to be 26 and just out having an awesome day on the water, for something so random to happen. I can't imagine what his family is going through, and it is a tragedy, and my deepest sympathies for anybody involved with this tragedy. If you'd like to learn more about this young man from Massachusetts, definitely check out the links below in the description. That's going to link you to news stories that has photos of him, that has more information, his name. I'm not going to include that here just because he's not mine to include. Not that this story time or this video isn't about him, but it's not. It's about the sharks and the seals. So please, he looked like he's such a handsome guy, and he seemed like a real cool guy. So check out the links below to learn more about him. I'm sure they'll have any GoFundMe information or anything like that included in those links. So yesterday was the 15th of September 2018, if you're watching this video at a later time. It was about 2:30 in the afternoon, and this young man was boogie boarding about 300 yards off the shore of Newcomb Hollow Beach, which is in Wellfleet, Massachusetts, which is on Cape Cod. So that's a general, I think most people on the East Coast know where Cape Cod is. He was out there with a couple other boogie boarders. There was a lot of surfers. Somebody saw him go down. Everybody tried the best that they could, but he did die either on the way or at the hospital. So incredible, incredible tragedy. Newcomb Beach, it's actually only 5 miles away from another beach that just 1 month ago, on the 15th of August, a Massachusetts man was bitten by a great white shark and very, very badly injured, but fortunately he survived that bite. It is worth mentioning that both of these beaches, there is seal activity. So there are gray seals there, and people know that there are gray seals there. I'm not blaming victims, I'm absolutely not doing that, but it was well known that there are seals around, and it's well known this year that there are sharks around too. This terrible, tragic fatality yesterday, it marks the first fatal shark-human interaction on the human's part, fatal on the human's part, since 1936. So that is a long stretch of time, thankfully, without a fatality. But as we're going to talk about more in the rest of this video, we have more sharks in the water and we have more people in the water. Being a shark-crazy kid and growing up in New England, I knew that we had this history of white sharks in New England. Of course, we have the great white shark story, Jaws, which takes place on a fictional Martha's Vineyard, or a fictionalized Martha's Vineyard, where there has not been a set of attacks like that. Jaws is actually a fictionalized version of something that happened in the early 1900s in New Jersey, which actual bull sharks were probably responsible for, not great whites, but that's another story, right? But growing up, I always thought of great white sharks as being in the Golden Triangle of California or Australia or breaching out of the water in South Africa. You never really thought about them here in New England, and that's just because we didn't see many of them here in New England. Even as I've spent much of the last 10 years overseas, I've always followed groups that are working on great white shark research and conservation here in New England. And over those 10 years, you see a spike. More. Oh, I got burned the other day, so let's just include that. More and more sharks. And this is exclusively, the only reason this is happening is because there is a explosion in the population of gray seals on the coast of Massachusetts. More seals equals more sharks. Gray seals are a tasty little nugget for any growing white shark, and if you have more seals, more sharks are going to come to predate on them. In the first half of the last century, gray seals were seen as a nuisance pest species. Fishermen hated them because fishermen hate competition. They don't want animals coming and stealing all of their catch. We can argue whether it's stealing or who's stealing from whom, who was there first. But the numbers, they were decimated. They were killed for their coats, they were killed for their snouts, and they were killed just to be killed. They were exterminated. In 1972, the Federal Marine Animal Protection Act went into place, Marine Mammal Act. And this is a federal protection that includes the gray seal. So it made the gray seal in New England, and everywhere I guess, a protected species, meaning there's going to be no more killing, no more culling. It took the seals a few years to get going, but as you do, they got going, and the population has just skyrocketed. So within Massachusetts waters alone, there are as many as 50,000 gray seals. And they're everywhere now. It's so cool. We were off, I was on a whale watch a few weeks ago off the Isle of Shoals, which is kind of, it's on a triangular point. It's where the waters of Maine and New Hampshire and Massachusetts all meet. And we saw, I mean, it was such a good whale watch, and at this particular point, there were two mother humpback whales with one of the baby humpback whales sleeping, and so we kind of had stopped. And then off the side of the boat, the naturalist says, look, it's a leatherback turtle, it's a leatherback turtle. And we're like, what, a leatherback turtle? So everybody looks. No, it was just a big gray seal. He was just chilling, just like, hey guys. Hey guys. Always so cool to see. Like, I love seals. Who doesn't love seals? Marine mammals. Everybody loves marine mammals. I think if you're not a fisherman, marine mammal protection is one thing that we can all agree on. Who doesn't love a dolphin? Who doesn't love a whale? Who doesn't love a seal or a sea lion? So, like we talked about, with more seals comes more sharks. And so the Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries, they started noticing, hey, we're seeing more sharks here. So in 2009, they started a research program to actually find out what's going on with North Atlantic white sharks. There wasn't really a lot known about them. So the Division of Marine Fisheries teamed up with a nonprofit organization called the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy. And they do this incredible research. They go and they tag sharks, they get population numbers, they're looking into breeding, they're looking into what they're actually eating, and they're actually helping protect the beaches too, because they're looking for the sharks, and when they're looking for the sharks and they see them close to the beach, then they're working with the Department of National Parks and the state agencies that are running the beaches and say, okay, hey, guys, we have a lot of big sharks here right off the coast. We need to shut the beach down. Just this summer, we had over 25 beach closures off of Cape Cod alone. So that's great. That's NGOs and government agencies working together to conserve animals and protect people too. In the links below, please follow the link to the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy page. They have incredible photos, incredible information. As you see here, we have some of the photos of some of the sharks that they follow. They give them names. You get to know their personalities. You can download the app that actually tracks where the sharks are. So the ones that have been tagged, the radio collar or the radio tags, you can follow them where they go. And when they go near a buoy that has a receptor on it, it shows up on the app. So that is really, really cool. I suggest you guys definitely check that out. In the 8 years or 9 years of the research projects, they've actually tagged 140 separate sharks. So that's obviously, they're only getting a small percentage of the ones that are actually there. But they have tracking data, they have growth data, they have, migration patterns on 140 sharks, which is super, super cool. A lot of these sharks are in the kind of juvenile to young adult stage, so a lot of 8 to 10 footers, but they do get 14, 15, 16, and really big female sharks as well. So those aren't just the ones that are hanging off the Golden Triangle, they're up here too. We had 2 youngsters one that went up an estuary and died and actually washed up on shore. I think that was a young male. He was about 8 foot. And then there was a 10-foot female that actually got trapped and died inside of a fishing net. The fisherman was not to blame. He wasn't intentionally trying to hurt the shark. I guess he felt bad about it. He got a lot of backlash on social media, I'll tell you that, but it seems like it was a fair mistake. Just like if I hit a deer with my car, I didn't mean to do that, but it happens sometimes, right? And that was a female, and in both cases, the Division of Fisheries was able to go in and fully do a necropsy and get a lot of really valuable information from those animals. 2018 has been the biggest year yet for the research group because they've identified 149 positive great white sightings, and that's only until July. So I don't think that's including the August numbers as well. So 149 sightings of animals that are close to our beaches. It's pretty cool, and the aerial footage, so they have drone footage. There's one, the drone comes in and the shark is eating a dead minke whale. That's great. Predation on seals, and some really kind of humbling photos and video footage of big animals incredibly close to shore with people in the water. Now, mind you, they're there all the time. There's a bunch of them, and people aren't getting bit regularly. So it's pretty clear that they're not attacking people on purpose. They're not predating on humans. I think it's pretty well been proven, and I think it's in the general consciousness now that we understand that most shark attacks are kind of accidents on the shark's part. They can't say, hi, how you doing? They use their teeth. And unfortunately, we have such delicate skin and muscle and bone, and that can lead to serious injury and tragically death. The sharks and the seals are working in a balanced ecosystem. We have apex predator and prey. And the seals came back, so the sharks came back. And the fishermen are using this as an opportunity. To me, it feels almost like when there's a mass shooting, and people will say somebody's just using this as an excuse to bring up gun control or whatever, like that reactionary thing. The fishermen are saying, oh, we need seals calls, clearly. We only have so many sharks and people are dying because we have so many seals. We have to start killing the seals. And I don't see how anybody could see that as a valid option. This is a balanced ecosystem. It's working. Why is the fishing industry gonna come in this gluttonous fishing industry that just comes in and destroys everything? For the past 200 years off these coasts, it's just been coming in and indiscriminately killing anything in its wake. The seals are a success story. The seals survived and the seals came back, but that was just through government regulation. I'm so worried that the fishing lobbies and, you know, the powerful fishermen in local council areas in Cape Cod and the rest of the Massachusetts coast is going to use this as an opportunity to go and kill the seals. They've just been looking for an opportunity, and I think this might be it. I mean, social media has been nasty, nasty, nasty regarding this issue of the tragedy that happened yesterday. And all the comments say, call the seals, call the seals. I just don't think that's the option, guys. The same people who are writing these nasty messages about going in and culling the seals to get rid of the sharks, they're the same people that for the last 3 or 4 years have started really successful shark tourism businesses. So we have multiple tourist boats that are going out, spot a great white experience. They're bringing in a lot of money. Over the last couple of years, the tourism boom, because of the sharks, I mean, economically, I don't think there's any hard data, but it's brought in much more money than it has by the few people who would be afraid to come to the Cape Cod or come to the vineyard because they were afraid that there were sharks in the water. Like, New Yorkers, I know you're kind of dumb. I mean, you're Yankees fans, but you're not that dumb. You know that there's no reason not to come somewhere because there are sharks in the water. There's so many other activities and fun things to do. And for me, like, I would give up a day's swimming if it meant I could go out on a boat and safely and respectfully observe a great white in their natural habitat. That would be incredible. Like, that's something I've wanted to do for my whole life. This fatal bite of this young man yesterday is the 63rd reported shark bite of 2018. And that's not just in Cape Cod, that's not in New England, that's in the entire world. So these are reported, so some obviously are going to go unreported, but 63 bites, few of them fatal. And in that same time, in those same 10 months, humans have been responsible for the death of millions and millions and millions of sharks, indiscriminately through these big trawler operations that just decimate the ocean. Shark fin soup being a big major factor in that. I urge you guys, I'm not going to show it here because it's graphic, but search shark culling or even shark fin soup harvesting, and they just pull these sharks up and they cut their fins off and they throw them back in the water to die. When I see those images, it transports me right back to that day that they were just hitting the sand sharks in the head and throwing them in. No feeling, no respect for life, no respect for this being, this higher being than us. I think that's the thing with humans and predators. We have this primal thing in us to be fascinated and fearful of predators, of things that can still eat us, that can still consume us, kill us. With all our fancy technology, alone in the woods, the lion still, you know, the bear still can get us. Or alone in the savannah, the lion can get us. In the forest, the tiger, you know. And in the water, the shark. the big shark. This primal feeling that we have, this reactionary fear that we have of these animals, it happens anytime, you know, a wild animal kills a person. But the media likes to sensationalize it so much because they're preying on that part of us. And it can get out of hand really, really quickly. I think you actually look at the phenomenon of Jaws when that film came out. I mean, when the book came out and then when the film came out, the great toll that took on ecosystems around the world, killing indiscriminately these amazing apex predators. So, for me, as a layperson, as a shark lover, I would urge the powers that be, urge the federal authorities and the state authorities and the local authorities that are dealing with this tragedy and the incident last month and the future of tourism in New England on the beaches. I would say put money into making people aware, into education. And the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy is doing an amazing job with that too. They're providing a lot of the funding for making people aware. I think it is up to the local governments, the federal, whoever is in control of that beach, whoever's profiting from having people on that beach, to make every single person have the access to the education to know that they could be in danger. That means signs everywhere. Signs in English, in French, because we have a lot of people from Quebec that come, and in Spanish as well, because, hey, a lot of things should also be in Spanish. It's 2018, people. Latina pride. Not for me, but for you Latinas. Yeah. Signs, education. There should be no excuse that anybody would enter the water without knowing that there's a possibility that there are sharks. And not just say, hey, caution, sharks. Say, you know, have an up-to-date board like they do in some places that say, these sharks were spotted here yesterday, the day before, 3 weeks ago. It's up for every adult to make that decision for themselves, and it's up for parents to make that decision for their children. As far as culling for the seals or the sharks themselves, I would tell the local officials to, you know, where they can stick their heads, but more so if they really want to go and kill something, go kill the ticks that have Lyme disease, because they are causing so much pain and suffering to your citizens. Lyme disease is absolutely rampant here, and it's costing millions and millions and millions of dollars in the healthcare system. So put your money there, do something about the ticks, bring our possums back, please. Outlaw trapping and bring our possums back. But leave the seals alone, man. They were here first. They were here, they're back, and the sharks are here. We are not meant to be in the ocean. Look at us. I mean, well, me, I'm very buoyant. I've been buoyant my whole life. I'm like one big floaty. Really, it's great. It's wonderful, especially in the ocean water. But that is not where we belong. We have to know that they're there, and we are helpless against them. There is a clothing brand that used to be here in the Northeast called Big Dog. And their logo was, if you can't run with the big dogs, don't get off the porch. So I would say, if you can't swim with the big fish, don't go in the water. I'm going to continue to swim in the North Atlantic off of Cape Cod and off of Martha's Vineyard and off of the beautiful coast of New Hampshire here, very close to me. I'm not going to be afraid, but I am definitely going to be mindful of the warnings and heed the warnings and educate myself. Just like we have bear that are running around my town right now, and it's great. We have a local town-wide Facebook group, and when you see a bear sighting, like, oh, I saw a bear on this hiking trail today, then I know I'm not going to bring my dogs on that trail. And I see for the past week, have there been bear out there? I'm not going to bring my dog there. I think education is really the only way to move forward with this. And great, let's make money off of it. Let's have more tourism done respectfully and done legally, of course, for the sharks. Make money off of them. If you're going to lose money from people not going in the water, make money from them going to look from the boat. The main message is just stay away from seals. If there are seals where you're swimming, get out of the water, don't swim there, right? See Seems perfectly reasonable. But of course, if I had a loved one that was predated on by a predatory animal, well, not me. I mean, I'd be like, okay, whatever, but I understand that most people wouldn't have that feeling. Yeah, so, but let me know what you guys think, because I've been rambling with some very strong opinions, which I am always open to hearing the other side of. So, if you have a different opinion, please let me know. Would you go swimming in these times when there are sharks right off the coast? What do you suggest the local authorities do? Do you think that there should be a seal call? That there should be a shark call? What do you think? Do you like videos like this? I got fancy lights. I didn't get them for YouTube. I got them for something else, for photography, for another thing that I work on. But I got fancy lights, guys. Come on. Look, and I'm so shiny. I'm so well lit. You have to appreciate the production value, guys. The production value. Do you appreciate it? Okay. All right. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. It means the world to me that you watch these videos. See you next time.